You know, in life, you meet some people that are absolutely amazing. And one person that I've got a chance to know recently is Jerry Banfield. He's a man that understands technology really well, and he's got a heart of giving and helping people in many ways. I've been helped with many of what his ideas are, and he is sharing this now. I got a chance to finally get into his schedule. He's very busy, and work with him to do an interview about what's going on. And we turned this one upside down. He interviewed me, asked me some things. I asked him some things. He revealed some real deep secrets of what he did when it was really hard, and how he and I didn't make money on posts that we'd put out there and really felt discouraged, but what we did to turn it around. This one is packed with practical tips, with life lessons, and more. You want to watch this one with the amazing, the brilliant, the very kind Jerry Banfield. Jerry Banfield, it is wonderful to have you on board. You are a legend in the area of social media, and particularly on a platform that you and I both share called Steemit. And you have put out a lot of content and video on that really goes in depth. I like that one of the things you do, Jerry, is you talk about the technology of it, the really in-depth nitty-gritty of various topics, and you do a very good job explaining it in simple English, which is good. I like that. And then you also talk about other topics that get really personal about how to live with it. So, Jerry, really appreciate you joining us from your offices over there in St. Petersburg, Florida, from my offices here in Orlando. But hey, we've got the whole world in our hands. Do you get that, Jerry? See the thing? Complete with a map that has, notice, Australia twice. It's so nice we have it on here twice. And if you've been to Australia, you know what I like of that. Well, Jerry, good to have you with us today. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. How are you, Terry?
Doing really well. And, you know, you've done so much in technology. You've worked with that. I know that for a while you had, I think it was 100 bazillion people joining you on YouTube. How many subscribers do you have on YouTube, by the way?
I think there's 220,000 now.
220,000 people. That's a big number, ladies and gentlemen. And Jerry has that. But now, Jerry used to do a lot with programs like Dash, and he was into others. He did a lot on YouTube, still does some things on YouTube, but he's really focusing on Steemit. Jerry, I'd like to turn the floor over to you and give you the microphone to tell us a little bit about why you made the shift over to Steemit from all the success you've had in other areas on Facebook and on YouTube, etc. You still have a little bit of a presence there, but your main emphasis is on Steemit. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're focusing on Steemit.
Well, I honestly don't know why I ended up doing Steemit. It seems kind of random if you just look at things. I don't know why in kind of the big picture. So that's not very satisfying, is it? I can give you the details of how I got into Steemit and what I've been doing with it. And I see Steem as a cryptocurrency blockchain that has the potential to help us raise our consciousness on this planet and to kind of act as a mirror, because Steem, it doesn't, and these cryptocurrencies, they don't truly offer anything better than what we already have. Each offers something different that improves in some areas but is worse in other areas than what we have. What I like about Steem is that it's kind of a mirror of the rest of our world. What goes on with money and influence is transparent on Steem, whereas in our real world, it's often difficult to see why we're being promoted a certain food or a certain company, when if we saw all the money changing hands, it'd make perfect sense like we can on Steem. If we have no idea what Steem is, this is Steemit.com is the main user interface for the Steem blockchain. This is Terry Brock's profile here, and what we have
Matter of fact, Jerry, what you might do is, if you don't mind, share your screen. We can do that on
Zoom. Right.
Yeah,
I
share
just
your
alt
screen with us
tab.
so we can take a look at it, and then we're just going to let you go. I mean, I feel like we could, ladies and gentlemen, I could literally just say, Jerry, have at it. Go for it here. Turn them on for like a few hours, and I mean that not in hyperbole, but literally go for a few hours, and it was like sitting at his feet and just going, wow, oceans of goodness and knowledge are flowing over me now. So we're going to let you share the screen. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say another thing. This is Jerry's first time using Zoom, and he is just eating it up like crazy. He is brilliant. He grabs it quickly and goes with it. But Jerry, if you got any questions about sharing the screen, just let me know. Go for it and share your screen with us now.
Thank you, Terry. I'll do that. I have a hard time trying new things sometimes, believe it or not. And I'm
Well, you're
glad
doing just fine. There we go. You're on my page there on Steemit.
Terry sold me on Zoom, and now there's no going back to Skype after Zoom.
There you go.
So this is the main user interface for the Steem blockchain. We are on steemit.com right now, which is the user interface made by Steemit Inc., which is the primary developer and the team that launched and is the, I guess, main development team for the Steem blockchain.
Yes.
So what we're looking at is a blockchain that not only has a wallet, like Bitcoin, it has a wallet. So we can go right, unlike Bitcoin, we can easily go into Terry's wallet and take a look at how much Steem Terry has in his wallet. And then we can easily click straight over onto Terry's blog and read his blog posts. The idea with Steem is a censorship-resistant blockchain. Now, in terms of rewards, downvotes can easily take rewards away, but no matter what someone thinks, I mean, Terry could make the most offensive post in the world, and it still is there, would be there on the blockchain. And that is what's neat about Steem. It gives us a place where we can share without worrying about getting banned or having a centralized authority suppress what we have to say. Now,
yeah, Jerry, matter of fact, let me interrupt you there for a moment. That's very important what you just said. As a lot of people have noticed they got banned in certain places, and they're getting banned from YouTube. They get banned, or this video was banned, or that. You don't see that happen on Steemit and on the accompanying D-tube, D as in decentralized tube that ties in with it. And I understand you've had some experience in getting banned in some on that. What are your thoughts on having a decentralized, uncensored platform?
I think it's critical for us as human beings to be able to honestly connect with each other, because we're in a time where there's a lot of discrete censorship. The public, especially in the US, we live in these huge contradictions where we think we have free speech until we say something that goes against the grain, and then all of a sudden, I had a friend, he posted an article, it went viral on Facebook, and it was going out everywhere in the news feed, and within 24 hours, Facebook censored that. It was removed. You couldn't go to the URL anymore. The post was not showing anywhere. Facebook stopped that post. And YouTube, the same thing happens. We have a lot of discrete censorship that it's not obvious to the average person how this happens.
Yeah, I think you're right. And, I look at it because I am a strong, fervent believer in free speech and people being able to say what they want. And even if it's offensive, and I think the antidote to bad speech is more free speech. Yeah. Letting people speak. However, at the same time, I understand, wait a minute, when you're on Facebook, you are in their home. When you're on YouTube, you're in their home. If someone comes over to your home, Jerry, you are a kind of guy that's open to all kinds of ideas and sharing. But I'm sure, just like in my home, if someone comes in and did certain activities and maybe said certain things, I would probably ask them to leave. I would say, you have a right to say that, but not in my home. And I think the difference is now with Steemit, they overtly come out and say, look, this is a censorship-free area, unless you did something that like we would all consider despicable, illegal, etc., some of the things that some people would say. And at that point, the way we do that within Steemit and within DTube is we downvote them. And by downvoting them, they lose their money, and then they can be off the platform that way. And I think it's another way of using free speech to stifle bad speech. What are your thoughts on that?
It has some advantages and disadvantages. For example, I'll go share the screen here and take a look.
Yes, please.
So on Steem, YouTube, what we have is centralized monetization, where one company controls all of the money that all the creators are allowed to make and controls all the advertising revenue that funds the creators and allows advertisers to put ads on the website. On Steemit, we have a decentralized model that's based on stake. So Terry has about 7,000 Steam power, and this essentially is Terry's influence over what's posted on Steam. This means Terry can give himself or anyone else $1.25 or so right now on every single post anyone makes. And Terry could also take $1.25 away about 10 times a day from any post he dislikes. Now, this has benefits because there's no central authority that can then just take your rewards away. But on the downside, anyone who has stake can come take your rewards away. I've had some of my recent posts where someone simply appears to not like me or want to get my attention or need some love and understanding, and then downvotes my posts essentially without what you would think of as the criteria to get a downvote that we like. There's no spam or plagiarism. There's nothing most of us would look at and say that why this got downvoted.
Yeah, very good point. Very good point. It's almost like it's a second grade playground kind of behavior at times. That someone says, I just don't like you, and they downvote. And I've seen that kind of behavior happen. I think there's both sides of it.
Yes, so in some ways it's better because there's not one authority like YouTube or Google that's responsible to all the advertisers that then essentially systematically downvotes and systematically takes money away from creators that say post on certain words or topics. But at the same time, there are very arbitrary rewards. Like my wife got essentially maliciously downvoted, thousands of dollars of downvotes on her comments after she just made a post saying, hi, I'm Jerry's wife, here's my story, a basic introduction post. One person with a lot of stake didn't like her, downvotes her now, but that doesn't silence her, which is nice. But it is really, in terms of, it's really discouraging, which actually is good. It's good that it's discouraging because that can happen to everyone. Almost everyone at some point on Steam gets discouraged. And that's what we call the dip. And Seth Godin has a book where, you start learning, we start learning something new, we get really excited. The dip happens when we kind of meet ugly reality.
Yep. Ooh, I like that. That's a good tweetable quote. The dip happens when we meet ugly reality. Tell us about that because, Jerry, that's something people deal with a lot. They get in there and they try to do some articles. They put it out there and they put several out and either nothing happens or they get just a few pennies. And after a while, I'm sure you've seen this, Jerry, people go, I'm giving up. I don't like it. What would you say to those people that are almost ready to go, I'm out of here, and we want to bring them back into reality? How do they deal with that dip?
That's an outstanding question, Terry. I was just thinking of the importance of asking very good questions, which Terry does a powerful job with that, of picking a good question to ask.
Well, thank you.
The dip is actually good for most of us because the dip keeps most of us out. That means, like in what you do, Terry, with speaking, that whatever the speaking dip reduces your competition. In terms of journalism, book author, the dip keeps most people out.
Yep.
And the dip comes back to our motivation. Why are we doing what we're doing? For example, with Steam, I'll share my screen and look at what you might say the dip I've experienced personally on Steam. The dip is after we start out and things are just, everything's going so good, this is so exciting, and then we kind of come back down to earth. The dip is often brutal on Steam. It's often difficult to get started, and then the dip is often even more painful. Whenever there is some level of success that's achieved, stepping down from that is often just the worst. On Steam, the dip comes after we get some initial rewards and payments on our posts, because Steam is 10 times better than any other blogging platform I know of. Try and make a WordPress blog on your own website. Good luck getting $1 out of it for the first several months, even if we post every day.
Isn't that the truth?
If we post every day on Steam, we have a very good shot to get $1 relatively quickly on a post. And if we post for months, we have a very good chance to get $100 on at least one post. Now, it might take 200 posts to get $100 on a post, but on a blog, it'll probably take, on some other blog, it might take a lot more than that. Steam has a brutal dip regardless of who we are, because inevitably, if we start earning a lot of rewards at some point, we will come back down. We will get downvoted, or people will just go follow someone else. I've had a brutal dip on Steam. When I started out on Steam, there was huge excitement, which some of us might think, that's great. You started out, I'm going back through several hundred posts here to the very beginning on Steam. I started out, my first post got $400. My second post got, I think, $700 or something dollars. And then I had several posts after that that earned thousands of dollars. Here's my first post, $466. The next post, $746. Every post after this earning $80 or 100, except for one $20. Then a post, $3,000 on this post, $1,000. So this is a way above average start, which...
Oh, yeah. By the way, Terry, let me interrupt you for a moment here. What did you talk about for that $3,000 or $4,000 post? What was the subject matter on that?
That post was actually a crowd-funded ad campaign. So I agreed and gave all of the author rewards from that to advertising Steam. So every upvote on that contributed to advertising Steam. So I'll show you two different things on Steam. Now, I started out making hundreds of dollars on average on every post for months on Steam. And then for a while, almost $500 on a post for months. And then we get the dip. Now, everything is relative in life. When you're really excited and you're earning a whole lot of money, coming down to $50 on a post, coming down to consistently then the $60, getting huge downvotes like $80 on several of my recent posts. It's like, you know what, this is stupid. And I've thought about several times, like, screw this. There's lots of ways I could make more money than posting on Steam. But that comes back to the motivation. I'm not here just to make money. I'm here to do some good, to contribute, to be of service to the world. I'm not here just for me. I'm here for everyone else that might benefit. And the dip on Steam for me has been brutal lots of times, as there have been stretches where the comments have just been, I had to stop reading the comments. They're just, my wife suggested not to read them on one recent post. I mean, the comments just all things, Jerry, you suck, pictures of on private parts. You know, it's the dip is brutal, but it helps check your motivation. Like on these two recent posts, $27 on this one, $80 downvote on it. And it's not just that, it's comparison. Looking at other people earning, say, $600 that have promoted something purely self-promotional, we might say, that does no good for the community, and earning a bunch of money. The dip on Steam is brutal, whether we start out good, or as most of us can expect to earn nothing when we start out on Steam. And I applaud Terry. If we look at Terry's first few posts, Terry made several posts. So he started out $0 on his first post, $0 on his second, 18 cents on his third post, $16 here, $13. And now Terry's used to earning a good income on things. He's an international speaker. Terry is a big deal, so to speak, in the world, and therefore to come on Steam and to get like $1, it's very easy for Terry to say, like, this isn't worth my time to write something and not get any money for it. So I applaud Terry. Went through the curve here until 7 months ago. Then he stopped for a while, and then Terry, you came back, and then you got $108 after writing like 15 or 20 posts. You finally got a good income on one.
Yeah, it took a while, and it takes a lot of practice. And those of you watching this, think about that. It takes a while. There's sometimes you got to trudge through. You got to keep going through the grind, as Exile talks about it. At Exile here on Steemit, he talks about hanging in there in that grind. You just stay with it. You don't give up. But also, you don't just keep doing the same thing. You keep exploring. You learn what to do and how to get ahead, because you're always learning on that. Matter of fact, that's one thing that I wanted to ask you about, Jerry. One thing that people that know you really admire about you, and I can say it just from knowing you both off camera and on camera, many different places around in the U.S. as well as overseas. You know, you are brilliant. You keep learning. You're learning a lot. How do you learn about all this stuff that's out there on Steemit and other areas? What procedures, what steps do you go through personally to learn and to bring all that stuff into that wonderful noggin of yours?
Well, Terry, I appreciate your kind words. It takes one to know one, and I say a lot like you do. And in fact, so much that you already mentioned it very clearly in your TEDx talk. So I'll go over here and look at Terry's website for a minute. Terry has a TEDx talk I recommend watching. It's called How to Overcome Overwhelmed. And what we notice is the mindset. The way we think is critical to everything else that happens. The way we think determines everything we get. And one thing I loved in this talk Terry gave is he mentioned in the Matrix, where there's a scene with Neo and with Trinity, helicopters flying up to rescue them. And Neo asks, "Do you know how to fly that?" And Trinity says, "Not yet." Now that she obviously starting right there had no idea how to fly a helicopter, with the open mind that it's possible for me to learn how to fly that helicopter. Now in the Matrix, they just download something in their brains. It's just kind of robotic. But in what I do in my learning, that's how I look at things. For example, this morning, I'm planning on starting a Bitcoin price live stream that has my music on the background. And what I notice in that, an ambitious undertaking, and I just look at it like, not yet. I don't know everything yet, but I know what I need to figure out. I need to figure out how to get beautiful charts on my live stream 24/7. So what do? I just sit there and start Googling. What don't I know? What do I need to know? I just start Googling and looking around, and I get into things, and the key is I'm willing to fail at stuff.
Ooh, very important. Very important. Be willing to fail at some. Those of you that are watching this, take that route, write that down and circle it. You know, I tell you, that's real important. Be willing to fail. But then, Jerry, it hurts. We don't want to fail. How do you go through the pain that's going to be there?
You need other people. Other people are the key to going through pain. Using Steam for me has been one of the most painful things I've done in my business. Like, as we look at Terry, like these dips, like where Terry's going from hundreds of dollars on a few posts, then down to $1.29. These dips, it's painful. Like I'm used to getting $100 on a post, and then I get an $80 downvote and earn $27. Like, our minds adjust relatively to where we're at. So someone earning $1 gets downvoted to 10 cents. It's probably about just as painful as $100 down to 27 or whatever. And I can't tell you how many, it's probably been 50 or 100 times I've cried or hurt over things on Steam. And I face the pain and I go through it. I've made posts that they've hurt a lot, and they've not hurt. It's because of the reaction, and people bring out the tools of judgment, criticism, shame, condemnation. It hurts to look at the human race and just see how we are sometimes. It hurts to see how separated we feel from each other. It hurts all the ego battles. It hurts to look at these and see how they are. So I listen to one thing that helps me a ton. I listen to a lot of books. I would say this is one of my main tools. And I know, Terry, you read a lot as well. I listen to a ton of books. I'm always buying and listening to new books. And each book I listen to, I prefer to learn. I use well-rounded learning approaches. I read things online. I Google things. I do things. And I then listen. And I think one component a lot of us are missing in our learning curriculum is essentially audiobooks, something that we can listen to. I've like, for example, every book I listen to helps. The Dip, I've just mentioned it several times, by Seth Godin, it helped me I just happened to listen to that book right when I was going through my worst dip on Steam. It was extremely helpful. Kevin Hart's book, I can't make this up, Life Lessons, extremely helpful. Book of Forgiving, Book of Joy, I'm just finishing this up, Dying to Be Me. I mean, I listen mostly to nonfiction books. I listen to a lot of stories, a lot of Eckhart Tolle. The books I listen to help a ton, and that's a huge part of it.
Yeah, I think that's really good. And those of you that are watching this, think about what Jerry just said. He's listening to books. He's constantly saturating his mind with good quality information. Because you think about it, when you're driving along, what do you do? Listen to the radio? I mean, the same songs? I mean, come on, please. And, it's interesting to know what's going on, what's happening in some place. But really, does it matter to you that over at the corner of 4th and Main, a really bad thing has happened? This has happened, versus saturating your mind with something that's going to help you live your life better. A+ quality material that you determine is A+ according to your criteria and what you want in your mind. That's where you should spend your time. That's what Jerry is doing. And that is a large part of why he and other people are successful who do it. They're exercising filters. There's some things you go, nope, I'm not going to spend my time digesting that. I often think about, Jerry, you might relate to this as well. Over here in Orlando, they have this morning news show things go on, and they say, last night there was a terrible tragedy over on da-da-da-da, and da-da-da, we tell you about it right now. Think about it for a moment. Would you want to get and buy a DVD or a CD or an MP3 of that recording 3 months from now? Even tomorrow, you wouldn't care. Or there's a tractor trailer turned over and there's traffic is jammed over there. Does that stuff really matter long term? No. Versus saturating your mind with a good book. I love reading books, and I do a lot of listening myself on podcasts. So I'm listening to podcasts. When I was listening to a whole bunch of, matter of fact, I was telling you before we started recording, I got my new baby is in now. It's my Samsung Galaxy Note 8. And I love that thing. It's really cool. So I've been programming the podcast to go over there from my iPhone, and now I have them both. But saturate your mind with good things and working with that. So Jerry, you're reading a lot of books by listening to them. Do you read very many books, like sitting down with a book, reading it either on Kindle or electronic or the old physical books?
Yes, sometimes I do that. And that was, for example, the Alcoholics Anonymous book. I mostly read that and continue reading it in the hard copy. I don't listen to that. I have daily inspirational books I read that I read those in the hard copy every day. And if authors like Brene Brown, I love everything she does. And if she doesn't narrate the book, because she's so good narrating the book, I miss her to listen to a different author. So I'm reading Daring Greatly right now from Brene Brown in hard copy. And like Tim Ferriss' Tools of Titans, not narrated on Audible, at least last I checked. So I've been reading that in hard copy. I basically try and use Audible most of the time because I do so much on the internet with looking around and Googling and reading online that I'm kind of burnt out on reading things by the end of the day. Now, if I stopped using the internet, I'd probably, and like when I was younger, I used to read a lot of books.
Yeah, I think it's good. Well, one of the things that really helped me a lot years ago was when my friend Zig Ziglar, he was a well-known speaker and member of the National Speakers Association with me, he would say one of the things very important to always remember, when you're moving, you want to listen. When you're driving along or you're walking or something, when you can, and it's appropriate, listen like that. And then when you're sitting, read. The idea is that you continually saturate your mind. And I think really it ties in with the phrase of something I know you're doing, Jerry, lifelong learning. You've got your bachelor's degree, you got your master's degree also, but a lot of people might say, okay, I can hang it up now. I don't need to learn anymore. Not Jerry Banfield. Jerry Banfield and other really successful people are those who say, okay, I'm going to continue learning. I haven't read about that. Oh, I didn't know about that. And you're constantly learning new things. How does that relate to the overwhelm that we often have? I talked about overcome overwhelmed. How does that relate to the overwhelm of Steemit, cryptocurrencies, blockchain, all that's going on? How do you get fed in that particular area?
Exactly what you said about filtering. I realized that the primary choice I have is where I go, what I do, what I hear, where I position my body, so to speak. That's my primary option. In other words, that includes everything like what I have on my screens, what I'm listening to on the radio. And that to me helps a ton with overwhelm. One thing I do, I keep an open schedule. I have two things on my schedule today, Terry. This interview with you and my AA meeting. That's all I have on my schedule the whole day. In other words, I seek to be the opposite of busy. I like to keep where I feel I have a flexible schedule where I have time to do everything important every day. And I say no to, I set systems up to keep people out, so to speak. I try and focus on just doing what I need to, and then accepting my limitations that, hey, I don't have time to respond to everyone that emails me unless I drop everything else I'm doing and only do email. I don't have time to interview with everyone.
That is the words of wisdom. You've got to be careful. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think over in St. Petersburg, Florida, where you are, there's only 24 hours in a day. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct, Terry.
Yeah, what an amazing thing. And you think about that, people. It's been said many times. Those of you watching this, think about it. You have the same amount of time as anyone else. I just finished a video that I'm going to do later on Steemit of an article where I was looking at how executives and how important people, including the President of the United States, allocates time. Whoever that president is, it's not a political thing, but it's just what you do. You have to filter. And like Jerry says, you got to learn to say no. I think it's Warren Buffett that says you got to say no a whole lot more than you say yes. And successful people are those who say no more often to the things that are not quite as good. You want to focus on those areas that are going to be really good for you. And if it's not good, get rid of it. You don't need that. Get it out of your life if it's not going to be that good. Jerry, that's a really important thing. You find that helps you as you did in school. Is that helping you now in life, living, making a living?
Well, I didn't do that for most of my life. I was very easy to say yes to things. And then to not have time for the things I really wanted to do. And then to get into things like addictions, like alcoholism and related behavioral addictions or substance addictions. These are often things that people who are very agreeable that say yes often take up addictions to help get some personal space. Because once I started drinking, it didn't matter if I told you I was going to move the next day. I was going to do whatever I wanted. And if I wasn't in the shape to help you move, didn't matter what I said.
Yeah.
So I feel like a lot of us, we're busy because most of us are agreeable people. If you ask us, will you help me move, or would you? A lot of us don't even stop to think, not just is it best for me, but is this best for everyone? Is this best for my family? If I just blindly agree to help someone move without checking with what my wife's doing that day, and what I try and do is think of, what do we need today? What would it be best for this body to do in relation to all the other ones? Instead of just asking, what do I want to do today? That's led me off to a lot of answers that didn't help anyone else and that hurt myself. I ask, how can I help today? What do we need this body? What do we need me to do today? And then that kind of clears out most of the other things. Like, we don't need me to make another video course and try and sell it and make hundreds of thousands more dollars. Like, we don't need that. We need an interview with Terry that's available for free for everyone.
Yep. I think you're right. You're establishing the criteria that's right for you. And then you're holding very strictly to that, learning to say no to those areas that aren't. Well, Jerry, we could go on this for several more hours. And matter of fact, for those of you watching this, we're going to. And here's how we're going to do it. And no, not right now. You don't have to go, oh no, what am I going to do? Or get ready to turn it off. No, we're going to extend it because Jerry already has a great body of work out there. He's got many videos that you can tap into free. I mean, it's free as far as costs go. It will cost you some time. It will cost some effort. And I encourage you to put that in there, because it's like the person say, oh, if someone said, I want to become a doctor. I just don't want to go to medical school. You go, no, you're not going to get there. You got to put in the effort. You got to do it. And now here it is. It's available. So I would encourage you to continue this conversation with Jerry by watching the videos and the wealth of information he has on the technical side, as well as you can tell from this wonderful guy, he's a deep, caring human being. A person's got a big heart. And I can say he's this way, not only on camera where I've seen him, but one-on-one, camera's not rolling. He's genuine and he's real. He's a man you want to get to know. Well, Jerry, before we let you go, any final words on words that you'd want to say? And I'm not going to let you get out of here without telling people how they can get in touch with you.
Well, how you can get in touch with me? That's a good transition after we talked about saying no. So you
That's right.
Get in touch with me. How about that?
That's good. There's ways they can't, but there's ways they can watch your material and see that. What would be the best way for them to watch your material?
On Steam is the best way to watch what I create right now, because on Steam you've got the option to read and to watch. On a lot of my posts, I have a video with them. For example, on this new one, like you can read the entire post if you want to, or then at the end of a lot of the posts, then there's a video of the same post, so you can read or watch in one place. The place I'm most likely to check the comments for free is on Steam. And if you'd like to contact me and kind of build a relationship with me over time, I've got a Discord server, and that's at the end of my Steam posts, which often are very long. There's a link to the Discord server. It's at jerrybanfield.com/contact. And then I've got a free Discord server that anyone can join. But what I do, I've got a partner program that helps me prioritize my communication. So if you're a partner, then I check those messages first. And then once I've responded to all the partner messages, then what I do is go down and look at the free messages for free that are in the friends channel. Right now, I just started this, so I'm having a good, easy time responding. But part of the problem is if you want to build a lot of influence and followers, that also tends to ruin every different thing too.
Yep. Well, that's part of the reality of life. And we see that today we've got to be able to have the criteria set up and put it in there in place. Jerry Banfield, you are a person who has helped so many people. You've helped me personally. And right here in front of God and everybody, I'm letting you know I really appreciate you, sir. Glad to know you. Glad to have you as a friend. And looking forward to many more good things that you and I will create in the future. Before we finally let you out the door there, any final words you want to leave for the folks that are watching?
Thank you. I pray in the morning. I say, God, let me remember, thank God throughout the day. The simplest prayer we can do is just thank you, and almost like a chant. And it breaks up things when they're uncomfortable too. Like car pulls out in front of you, you have to slam on your brakes. Instead of F you, it's nice to go to thank you. Like thank God we didn't wreck. And that little change, that's been a huge one for me. So thank you, Terry, for having me, and I'll be repeating thank you the rest of the day.
You bet. Jerry, I'm saying thank you to you, and also to those of you watching this. Thank you for taking your time and your energy to be here. And I would remind you that seldom does one exposure to new material, particularly as good a material as this is, really help it to last long term. What you want to do into the wonders of technology today, it's very easy to go back over it and have that pen and paper ready, or that note-taking device of choice ready to go. And you say, okay, I got to write that. Oh, I missed that the first time. I forgot about that. And go back and do it again. And so be alert to stretch your brain, to learn and to go over and repeat these, and then stay in touch with Jerry. Stay in touch with me. We'd love to hear from you and love to get those upvotes. That matters over here on the Steemit side. We want to hear from you. So on behalf of Jerry Banfield, I'm Terry Brock. Thank you for joining us today.